Today I'm going to show you how to take apart and re-lube your axe regulator. Now the first thing I'm going to tell you is if you do this, you void your warranty. Okay, if you take this regulator apart, you will void the warranty on your axe. But with that being said, it's not that difficult, but you definitely need to understand your warranty will be voided. Now, you are going to have to go and get some specialty tools, and you're also going to have to make a specialty tool in order to do this. The first thing you're going to need is a 3mm nut driver. I believe I got this at a Granger, but you're going to need a 3mm nut driver just like this. I don't think you're going to be able to get in there with the socket set. Like a 3mm socket, because it's just too small to get in there. So you're going to need to go and purchase a nut driver. I ordered these from Granger. I ordered like 2 or 3 of them. It only took about a week for them to come in. The next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to the hardware store, and you're going to need to get a flathead screwdriver like this, and you're going to have to Dremel a notch into it in order to get this brass ASA piece out. Basically what I used is a flathead screwdriver with, I believe this is a 3/4 of an inch wide blade. So you're going to want to get a 3/4 of an inch wide blade, and then as you can see here, what I did was I just made with a Sharpie, I made a knot, or made a mark here where the middle is, and then I just kept dremeling outwards until it fits. So basically you just take your Dremel, you turn it on, and then you're just gonna carefully go back and forth until you get your little tongs here just wide enough so that you can get inside of the axe regulator. Let's position this so you can see what I'm talking about here. Okay, inside there, as you can see, you need to here in a few steps, you're gonna need to get your screwdriver down in there, and you're going to need to get it to catch, and so you can unscrew it. And that's the purpose of dremeling a 3/4 of an inch wide flathead screwdriver. Okay, let's go ahead and take off. Now, while I'm taking this apart, the axe shoots great. It's an amazing shooting gun. And now that I actually know how to take the regulator apart, I really like the gun even more. Something about not being able to take apart the entire gun, especially something as important as the regulator, really bothers me with paintball guns. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the grips. Now, while I'm removing the grips, I have seen some questions about how do you take the trigger off. Some people want to do part swaps, and they want to put an aftermarket trigger. What you're going to want to do to remove the trigger, you don't want to use a nail, and you don't want to use like an Allen key and try to hammer it out. You're going to want to go to the hardware store and get what's called a punch. This is a 3/32 punch, and you can get these probably anywhere between $2 to $3. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take a roll of electrical tape. Hold on for 1 second. You're going to want to take a roll of electrical tape. You're going to want to center the pin on the roll of electrical tape like this. Take your punch, put it here, and you're going to want to hit it with a hammer in order to punch the pin out. Now, very important that you notice that on one side the pin is wider than on the other side. Okay, you're going to want to put the pin in the correct way, and you want to take it out the correct way, and you want to put it in the correct way. The side that you should hit it from is going to be on the right side of the gun. Okay, so the right side of the gun is where you're going to want to hit it with the punch, and then when you're putting it back together again, you want to make sure that you're putting the flange side on the left side. So you're going to slide it in through this way. Now, the way how I get it back in without damaging or scratching up the marker is use the back side of the punch and just put it up against it and then tap it down. This way, if it slips off, you're not going to damage your gun or anything like that, as opposed to if you use the sharp point. So that's how you remove it. Now, it's machine pressed in there. It's in there. So you may have to whack it 4 or 5 times, progressively getting harder until it comes out. Once it gives about 1/4 of an inch, you can just slide it right out with your hands. So it's not like you have to hammer it all the way out. You just have to get it out about 1/4 of an inch, and then it'll slide out on its own. Okay, let's go ahead and set this aside. Now, the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to remove the ASA. Now, here's a good tip with the Axe ASA, the Axe regulator is you want to Loctite these screws. These screws will rattle loose as you're using the gun. So I'm going to show you there's 4 screws here that you're going to want to make sure are Loctited every single time you take the gun apart. If not, when you're out there, your ASA is going to start wiggling on you, and you're going to have to take your grips out to you're going to have to take your grips off to get into here to tighten these screws back up again. So always use blue Loctite. So while you're at the hardware store getting your 3/4 of an inch flathead screwdriver, you just go ahead and pick up a tube of blue Loctite. Okay, you get these screws out, and out come the ASA or the regulator. There is a little O-ring here, so you just want to be conscious that there is an O-ring down here at the bottom. So you may just want to throw some lube on that when you go to put it back together again. So we'll just clean this up. Okay. Let's just wipe down some of these parts here. Now this isn't a very hard ASA to take apart. There's just a lot of parts in a very small area here. Oh, and another tool you're going to need is a dental pick. So sorry I forgot to tell you that. Okay, let's start off with, I believe it's a 1/16 Allen key, and we're going to remove the ASA flip. Now take a look here at the ASA. Something that you're going to notice here is that, as you can see, when you put this together, the little handle here faces down. Okay, so as you can see, when this is on the gun, okay, that faces down. If you put this on backwards, it's not going to fit properly. So you definitely want to make sure that when you install it, you put it the right way. So as you notice here, this flip piece, that little bend, that curve faces down. So let's go ahead and unscrew this. Now this is just the retaining pin. You're going to unscrew this on the gauge side. This is just the retaining pin that holds the ASA flip lever in place. And you're just going to want to, now this is under spring tension, so you're going to have to push down on this in order to remove the screw. But there is a little bit of spring tension here, so you want to be careful. Let's go ahead and set that aside. Let's set aside the pin. And out this comes. Okay, now there's two. Now as you can see, this little piece here, okay, it looks kind of like a door stop in a way. We'll just call it that. The flat part faces towards the front of the ASA when you reinstall it, okay? The flat part faces towards the front of the ASA. The curved part is going to face towards the back. What this is the ramp that when you when you turn on your ASA, pushes the pin out. So that's why it's got that curve, and you want that curve to face towards the side that the tank screws into, because it's going to push the pin out. So let's go ahead and set that aside. Now, the next thing we're going to do here is, let's just go ahead while we've got it. Let's go ahead and unscrew the filter. Okay, and out comes the filter. Now you do have to unscrew this filter part, because this is where you're going to need to unscrew you're going to need the O-ring pick. So now that we've got the filter, we've got the filter out, and we've also got out this, we'll just call this the door stop. We've got the flip, and we've also got the pin. Now let's go ahead and unscrew the brass part out of the back of it, using our specialties tool that we designed, or that we made with the Dremel tool. So now what you're going to do is you're just going to put it in here. Now the first time you crack this loose, it is going to be a little bit difficult the first time you crack this loose, but after the first time, it's really not that hard. So let's go ahead and unscrew it out. Now something that's very important that you're going to notice when this thing comes out. Okay, you see this opening here? This is where this ramp goes down into. So when you screw this back into the ASA, you're going to want to make sure that it lines up. Also, the spring comes out, so you don't want to lose these parts. And like I said, you're in warranty voided land here. So if you lose any of these parts, it's not going to be cheap to replace them. So as you can see, out comes the pin. This is the ASA pin. We'll just put that back in there so we don't lose it. So you can see it's coming out the front there. Okay. Now here's where you're going to need the dental pick. Inside of the hole where the filter was, you're going to use the dental pick to pick out this little cap here. And this is basically getting into the back part of the regulator. Now once you have that little cap out, we'll just start lining, let's see, we're on the camera here, let's start lining up our little parts here. There we go. Now here's where you're going to need your nut driver, but first you're going to need a 1.5 millimeter Allen key to loosen up the front cap. Okay, out comes a coin. Okay, there's the coin, there's the spring, and here's your adjuster. Now this is where most people see. Now as you can see inside there's a little hole, and basically what you want to use that for is when you take your nut driver, you're just going to want to put an Allen key in there to hold it in place, so when you put your nut driver in there. Basically what it is this piston, it's got a piece that attaches into it with your cup seal. So you want to hold this in place because it'll spin on you. So just hold it with your finger, and down inside here, that's where you use your 3 millimeter nut driver. And I'm pretty sure that you're not going to be able to get a standard socket in there. So you're going to have to buy a specialty nut driver from Grainger or from a hobby shop in order to get down in there. So you take your 3 millimeter nut driver, stick it down in there, and then you're going to want to start to unscrew it. You need to hold the regulator in place, hold the Allen key in place so it doesn't spin. Okay, now out that comes. That's basically your cup seal. And then you can use you can use your dental pick. Let me get my curved one. There it is. There it is. And out comes the cup seal. Now the cup seal's got a flat face. Okay, it's got a flat face and a curved face. The curved face is where faces towards where your tank screws in. And then now from here, you can use like a wide Allen key, or you can use a dental pick, and you can just carefully push the piston out. There we go. Now you've got this completely apart. And then here's your regulator spring. And then there's the piston. Okay, so now that we've got it apart, let's just go ahead and give it a nice little cleaning. So we'll just go ahead and clean inside here with a Q-tip. As you can see, we're getting out some of the dirt and grime that's in here. Let's go ahead and clean out inside here. Okay, so we got this all cleaned up. Definitely want to make sure your hands are clean, that your lube is clean. Now let's go ahead and start re-lubing this. It doesn't take a lot of lube. You don't want to just sit here and coat this, because you know the more you put in here, the more is going to go through your solenoid. Very thin amount. Doesn't take much lube to use this. And then one of my favorite lubes is, you know, that I've been using lately on all my guns. Been working pretty good. Is Slick Honey. It works really nice. But use whatever you like. I mean, it's your gun, so there we go. So we just get a little bit in there. And now we're going to start putting it back together basically in the exact opposite way we took it apart. So let's take the piston with the spring and go ahead and stick that inside. There we go. Now this is very important here. You want to make sure that you put a little bit of Loctite here on the front of this cup seal and pin that you use the 3mm nut driver to get out. If you don't put Loctite on here, it's going to rattle loose and you're going to severely damage your regulator. If you damage your regulator, your solenoid and the internals of the gun are going next. So once again, with the curved side of the cup seal facing towards where your tank screws in, and the flat side facing towards the front of the gun, you're going to go on ahead and screw this in. Now you may have to take your finger and press down the piston a little bit. As you can see, this will move a little bit on that spring. You may have to press it down a little bit to get the threads to catch. Okay, there we go. And you just want to give it, torque it down nice and snug. Now those are very fine threads, so you don't need to overdo the, torquing of the nut. You just want to get in there until it's snug, and then maybe about a 1/16 of a turn more. That's all you need to go. And so now that that's in there, let's go ahead and put in this little cap that's on the back part of the regulator. Let's go ahead and lube there's one little O-ring here on the back of this, so we'll just go ahead and lube that up. And we'll just drop it down in there. You just take like a, once that drops in there, you can see it in through the air filter hole. Drop that in there. Now we're going to go ahead. And what we're going to do is when we screw this piece in, okay, as you can see, it's got this opening on it, okay? When we screw this piece in, let me go ahead and clean it really quick. We want to make sure that this opening is facing down so that we can see it through here where that little ASA flip lever goes. So let's go ahead and drop this into place. Okay, now we're going to use our little custom tool here to screw this in. Let's see if I can line this up so that you can see inside. Okay, so you want to line this up so that when you look inside, you don't see the brass anymore. So let me see if I can line this up so you can see it. Okay, that's bad, that's good. Okay, you want to make sure that is perfectly centered in there. If you tighten it all the way and it's not lined up, just back it out until it's perfectly lined up. Okay. Now let's go ahead and we'll just throw just a little bit of lube. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to reinstall this little piece here, this little door stop with the spring on the front. Now you do have to be very careful. Like I said, the spring will come out. As you can see, the spring will come out. So you want to make sure the spring is in there. And you want to make sure that the ramp part faces towards where your bottle screws in and the flat part faces towards the front of the gun. And then you just want to just gently press it down like with an Allen key to make sure it's in place. There we go. Now the next part you're going to want to do here is let's go ahead and reinstall the ASA flip. Okay, now like I said, this has a certain way it needs to go on there. You don't want to put this on there backwards like that, okay? You're not going to be able to screw your tank in, and also it's not the right way. So you want to make sure you install it the correct way, which is with the flange facing down. Now let's go ahead and find the screw. And now you are going to have to press down a little bit with a little bit of pressure with either like your fingernail or something like that in order to get this flip down so that you can put the screw into it. A piece of dust. There we go. I just used my fingernail, but like I said, you do have to press down a little bit of pressure. There we go. And you just want to check your flip, make sure it, sticks forward and it sticks back, which it does. Now here we can go ahead and install the filter. So I'm going to go ahead and clean. I do have a little bit of dirt in here, so it's definitely not anything you want to put any lube on the inside because it's just going to catch more dirt. But you definitely want to make sure that you get you get your filter here as clean as you possibly can. You just use your standard Allen key. There we go. You want to make sure, as you just saw, that you don't want your filter to be in there sideways when you try to torque this down. You'll damage the threads and you'll damage the filter. So you definitely want to make sure that the filter is the right way. And once we have that, then simply all we need to do is let's put our spring in place. Let's go ahead and put our coin in place. Now you want the coin facing down, because basically what that is for the Allen key, the regulator adjustment. Now as I'm putting this back together, I'll give you a tip here on how to get your axe to shoot really nice. And basically it's going to make it shoot at the lowest pressure possible. What I do is you want to make sure you get a good bore match here. So if you're using use a snugger bore barrel or something like that, it's going to make a pretty big difference. But usually what I do is I'll leave this at 200 psi, then I'll go to the chronograph and I'll start backing this out until my velocity peaks. Okay. Now usually the velocity, once you get about a turn and a half from flush, the velocity will peak at about 310, 320, somewhere around there. Leave this right there. And then what I do is I lower the pressure on my regulator here down to about 180, 175, somewhere around there PSI, and it'll bring my velocity underneath 300 feet per second. And then what I do is I do all my velocity adjusting through the regulator. Basically what that does is it makes it run at the lowest pressure possible, because what it does, it takes as much pressure as you can off of the poppet seat here. So by doing that, it makes your gun shoot a little bit quieter. It's going to use a little bit more air, but it makes it shoot a little bit quieter. It makes it from that loud crack to more of a chuff when you shoot. It makes it really quiet. So now we'll go ahead and let's start putting our regulator back together. Now this little O-ring here, you definitely want to put a little bit of lube on it. There we go. Now another tip too is you want to make sure that these set screws here are locked into place with blue Loctite. These are already locked into place, so I don't have to take them out. But if they're not, they'll wiggle their way up, and then your regulator will start moving again on you. So now we'll just put a small amount of blue Loctite on the tip of the threads here. And then once we have the screws in there, you're just going to want to. I just usually tighten one, then I snug the other a little bit more, and I tighten this one a little bit more, and then just kind of keep going back and forth. You don't really want to over tighten one while the other one is loose. You just want them. You want to snug them both. You kind of want to proportionally snug each one of them down. There we go. And that is how you take apart your regulator. Now the next thing you want to do is you just want to go ahead and get to a chronograph. And when you air this up, make sure it's under 200 psi, get to a chronograph and chronograph your gun, and that's about it. You should find your axe shooting really nice once you rebuild the regulator. I've rebuilt a few regulators. Some I found had some lube on them, some were a little bit dry, but after I rebuilt the regulators, man, they shot really, really nice. So hopefully that helps you rebuild the regulator on your axe. Thank you. Yeah, X tower, X tower. Hey, Willie, look left side, Willie, left side. Stay on the left, stay on the left. Left side, Dorito. Left side, Dorito! Willie? Willie, what's on the right? I got right side. Hey, fingers are gone. That's Monday. Hey, Ken. Dorito, Willie. Nice job.
Good communication.
They're walking off, or?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm out.
I'm out. Well, I got 3. Because I came out with 5.
Left pillar! Willie, talk to me! And you're hit on your pack! And you're hit on your pack! And the guy near the X is hit on the pack! The stand-up is hit on the pack! On the X! The guy at the X is hit on the pack! The stand-up! The stand-up! And he's hit on his pack! Willie! Hey, my mirror! My mirror! Hey, back left! Hey, the back left rocket! Back left rocket! Back left rocket! Hey, he's in the back left rocket! My mirror! Both are on me! Hey, go wide! Go wide! Go wide!
He's my man!